Nearly 2 years after she disappeared, the search for Serenity Dennard has been suspended.
As we get across the fence, we're going to line up again and move on up the hill. Here we go.
All right, moving.
The Pennington County Sheriff's Office says there is a lack of new information. Serenity ran away from the Black Hills Children's Home in Rockerville on February 3rd of 2019.
Authorities say she was not dressed for the cold weather and that it's unlikely she survived if she was outside.
And the Black Hills Children's Home came under scrutiny as well.
New government documents say that it took 1 hour and 41 minutes for staff members at the Black Hills Children's Home Society to call 911.
I'm not absolutely certain it would have made a real difference in locating Serenity. Kids typically don't do what Serenity did. So I'll be perfectly honest, it caught us a bit off guard.
Online speculations, theories, and often accusations against virtually everyone involved.
I have to address, because there are people that believe that you are involved or that you may be involved. I've had people say to me, they're involved, something's fishy. I know they went there and they took her. Were you involved in any way with her disappearing?
No.
No.
Not at all. I wish we were.
You wish you? Yes. One of the theories has been that she planned with somebody to be picked up that was someone that was a friend or something like that. Some people have said that she was just standing outside and some random person saw her and took her. What is your general opinion about that now?
I think somebody has her. Somebody took her. They have her against her will. Serenity's story came over the news and she said, oh, she's safe. She's in Washington with her uncle.
There's no hidden details. We're not hiding her, you know. Nobody's in our family's hiding her. You know, she's a missing little girl, and that's just it.
Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel.
Today I want to talk about the Serenity Dennard case. Now this case is pretty interesting because Serenity has been missing for actually 2 years as of February 3rd, and they just called off her search. They're assuming that she is no longer with us. Some people think there was foul play. Other people think no, it's just a missing persons case, just very tragic, and that's it. So, as usual here on my channel, I'm going to give you guys the facts, we'll talk about the theories, and then you can decide for yourself. Thank you to my subscribers. You guys are the best, and you know that, but I'm still going to tell you that. If you are new here, hi. This is me. I wear a tinfoil hat, and I talk about true crime and conspiracies. So let's dive in. Serenity had a tough life from the beginning, because she was taken from her biological mother and she was put into foster care. By the time she was with the family that had adopted her when she went missing, she had already been to 12 or 13 foster homes. She was 9 years old at the time that she went missing or ran away. And it's really tragic because, well, let the biological mother explain to you in her words why Serenity was taken away from her.
She was taken from me. I was in prison and she was in the care of her father, my parents, and Devin's mom. And during the time, Devin had to do a little bit of jail time, and my parents had taken her to go spend Christmas Eve, and they were gonna have her Christmas. Well, during that situation, something had transpired and she was removed from her grandmother on her dad's side, and that's how she was taken into custody.
And did you fight for her? Did you try to keep her?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Devin and I both fought. While I was in prison, I was doing parenting classes through the prison. I was doing parenting classes through the mail at DSS. Everything I could.
Okay. And so when you finally found out that that despite all that, you'd lost her, how did you feel?
Defeated, because I had put so much into changing and being the mom that I know that, you know, who I am. Like, my kids they're my life, they're my heartbeat. And because I was incarcerated, the state's attorney, the judge, they said they had no choice but to terminate because of the length of amount of time I was doing.
Okay. At that point, you were aware that Serenity was at Children's Home Society, correct? Okay.
Yes.
Were you made aware when she was adopted?
No, I had no clue.
In your mind, she was at Children's Home and she was probably still there. You didn't know anything beyond that. Okay. Some people are critical of you, as you know. Some people even sort of blame you for your choices and all those things. So to people that look at your story and say, well, if Rihanna had made better choices in her life, this wouldn't have happened, what would you like to say to those people?
I should have made better choices. But what put me in prison was going and trying to be able to feed my daughter in diapers. And was it wrong the way I did it? Absolutely. I regret it every day, but I'm not that person anymore. I've found God. I'm completely different from what I was when I was my adolescence, and I'm no longer that person.
Serenity was actually at the same children's home where she went missing. That is the same children's home that Serenity had actually been in before she got adopted. So she is quite familiar with the children's home that she ran away from.
But how did you come to adopt Serenity?
I saw pictures of Serenity on a website that DSS uses.
How old would she have been in that picture?
Probably only 3 or 4 years old. The first time we met her was at her foster parents' house at the time. And I cried when we left.
So the timeline is kind of interesting here, and this is kind of what makes people kind of say things about the adoptive father, and that is that Serenity was adopted on October 2014. Just a few months later, in early 2015, Chad and Darcy, the two parents that had adopted Serenity, divorced. And then, just a few months after that, Chad remarried Cassandra. And then you have Darcy, she also remarried later.
So just to sort of clarify for people, Chad at this time was your husband.
Yes.
And was going to be, at the time we're talking about, adopting Serenity also.
Yes.
Okay, so just to sort of paint the picture, so you guys ended up divorcing.
Yes.
And how many years was that from the time that you adopted Serenity until you ended up getting divorced from her father?
So she came to live with us March 30th of 2014. Her adoption was final October 23rd of 2014. And then we divorced in 2015.
Okay.
I believe.
So you've got two couples, and Chad and Darcy are the adoptive parents. Now, the part that's a little bit, I will say, unconventional is that although both Chad and Darcy had legal custody, it was Chad who had physical custody.
What was the arrangement between the two of you with Serenity at that point?
So we agreed that he would have physical custody. He had a bigger house. He knew how to discipline her a little bit better. And she needed that. You know, there were quite a few behaviors that she needed a stronger disciplinarian.
Okay. So were you doing every other weekend or visitation, or how was it?
For quite a while, we weren't really following the South Dakota guidelines at all. It was, you know, just kind of going back and forth. What would work for him? What would work for me? Type of a thing. And we passed her back and forth for quite some time.
And how did she adjust to that? Was that difficult for Serenity?
I think it was difficult. She seemed to do okay for the most part. But then, you know, when I would take her back to meet him, she would do the big alligator tears and be upset.
So the reason why Serenity needed this discipline is because she had something called RAD, R-A-D, Reactive Attachment Disorder.
Serenity faced a lot of attachment issues. It's called a reactive attachment disorder. With her trauma from being in the social services system, she couldn't really attach to a person. You know, she didn't understand feelings like a healthy kid would.
One of her issues and whatnot was that she never, normally when a baby cries and their parents are there to relieve them and, you know, try and stop them from crying, either feed them or change their diaper and things like that, then they learn to get their needs met. Serenity, they told us, never had that. So, for instance, one of the things I used to do was rock her every night before bed. I'd rock her in a rocking chair just like you would a baby. I'd sing with her. And that was wonderful. I mean, that was our time together, but also I knew it was helping her. You know, and then I'd carry her to bed. Obviously, she wasn't an infant. She was a little heavy, but she just absolutely adored that. And so a lot of, you know, common things that you would do with an infant, we were told that we would have to backtrack per se and do that with her.
With Serenity's behavior becoming increasingly more difficult to handle, according to Chad, in July of 2018, so about 3 years after he's got custody of her, they put her back into the Black Hills Children's Home, the one that she was in when she was way, way younger. And they were supposed to put her in there for a year or so. And, you know, once her behavior improved and she learned tools and skills and all that, then she was supposed to come back with them. But the catch, the weird thing, is that Darcy, the adoptive mother, did not know that Serenity was at the children's home.
How did you find out that Serenity was missing?
I actually found out from a friend who had saw on Facebook a post that she had run away from the children's home. That was when I found out that she was at the children's home and she ran away.
Okay. So at this point, you're not only finding out she's missing, you're finding out that she's at the children's home.
Yeah.
So you were believing at that point, until you saw that, you thought she was where?
I thought she was with Chad.
Okay, you thought she was with her father.
Right.
Okay. So at some point, he had made the choice to put her in children's home.
Right.
Do you know why he made that choice?
I don't know why. I have some speculations that maybe her behavior had gotten worse.
Now, they put her in July 2018. She ran away on February 3rd, 2019. So that's over 6 months that the adoptive mom does not know that Serenity is in the children's home. She thought she was just with Chad. I find that really strange. Like, was she not calling? Like, what was their communication like when she wasn't there? I don't know. Oddly enough, in a few months, if she had exhibited good behavior, Serenity was supposed to be released. So she only had a few months left. Media went to interview Chad and his wife, Cassandra. She said it was just getting to the point where it was ramping up. Her behaviors were getting worse. It was kind of to the point where we couldn't any longer be up 24/7 watching her. I mean, it was going to end in she was going to hurt herself or one of the other kids. So there was a discrepancy with the timeline initially, and the discrepancy came from the executive director of the children's home.
When did you realize Serena was missing?
It was before noon yesterday afternoon.
Okay, and then when did you call for help?
We called for help right away.
Okay, and how did you realize she was missing?
Our children are monitored by staff all the time, and we had 2 staff and 4 children that were in the gym together, and one child went one direction, and one of our staff members that was with those children followed her, and then Serenity went the other way, and another staff member couldn't pursue her because she had 2 other children to be responsible, and she was the only staff remaining. Typically, our minimum ratio is 1 staff member for 6 children, so the ratio at that time was better than that. It was just unfortunate that she got away, and by the time we could get on her trail, she was out of sight.
Okay, so you guys actually saw her leave the...
We saw her leave the school building. Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So you see in that clip, he said that right before noon, she ran away, and they called immediately after at around noon. This, unfortunately, is not true. Once the police did investigation, they found another person who had seen her. The last person to witness Serenity was a mother who was actually bringing her child to the home. She says that she saw Serenity at around 10:45.
Yeah, we had 2 witnesses that day, and they seen her slip and fall on the cattle guard. Then she crossed this cattle guard, and this was South Rockerville Road behind us. She would have turned here and went north on South Rockerville Road, and in this, probably 30, 40-yard stretch is where she was last seen walking north.
So if Serenity was already outside running at 10:45, 11, How did they say that, Bill Colson said that she ran at 12? Police confirmed that the 911 call was placed at 12:26 p.m. So that's almost 2 hours later.
And then when did you call for help?
We called for help right away.
So once confronted with this, with the 911 call and the other last sighting and the discrepancy, this is what Bill Colson said to media.
If they leave one room, they'll run into another room, hide under a bed, hide under a desk or something like that. And so we responded like we would typically respond, and that is, let's search the buildings first. As a result, we delayed a bit in dialing 911.
There's another factor of how the story changed, because when he was outside the day she went missing talking to media, he said that
it was just unfortunate that she got away, and by the time we could get on her trail, she was out of sight.
Okay, so you guys actually saw her leave the...
We saw her leave the school building. Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
The door that she ran out of leads to the outside, to the snow.
Serenity took off and ran the other direction, outside of the gym.
Are there doors on both sides of the gym? Is there a door out this way and a door out this way?
There's when we took a tour, we were only shown the main doors, I guess, into and out of the gym.
As far as going in through the gym, I don't know if there's one on the other side, but there is a main door that leads into the gym from the outside.
I don't know how long it was before someone started looking outside. All we know is the approximate time from when she had been outside to when they called 911.
And that was how long?
Approximately 2 hours.
About an hour and 45 minutes.
About an hour and 45 minutes.
So, I don't know. That is what is breeding a lot of these theories. Now, I want to talk about the conditions of the weather and what she was wearing and everything like that the day she went missing, because it's not good, guys. It was freezing. You can see it is snow everywhere. It's early February, right? In the heart of winter. And all she was wearing was just a shirt. She didn't even have on a jacket. She did have on snow boots. With the weather and her age and the direction she was running into, where it was the woods, that's why the police and a lot of, the investigators were saying that they think she succumbed to the elements, that there's just no way a little girl could have survived those conditions in that outfit for that length of time. It's possible that maybe somebody else could have witnessed her too. There was vehicles in and out and around. It's possible that when she ran, somebody could have seen her and taken her in the car, and who knows, and this is where I want to talk a little bit about the parents and their theories.
She walked off the cattle guard, she ducked around the corner. Maybe somebody picked her up, some kind of an inside job, that people, planned all of this.
What do you think happened that day?
It changes all the time. She ran away, and I think she just ran too far and didn't know how to get back.
In the beginning, they kind of had a really hard time. According to the sheriff, it was difficult because there would have been no footprints in the snow because we didn't have any. The snow began falling mid-afternoon and would have covered up evidence of Serenity's trail, such as overturned leaves. Quote, "Quite frankly, the snow didn't help us with this. However, a few weeks or so into the search, there was cadaver dogs brought in because they had two different types of dogs, right? You have the scent, like recovery, and then the cadaver dogs, which they smell, a dead body. And the cadaver dog hit.
We already have this.
So unfortunately, they were not able to find a body when that cadaver dog hit, and then they were also not able to tell for sure if, the cadaver that they're smelling is in fact Serenity or another person. However, it was in the area where Serenity was last seen. It was just a few miles from that area. So theoretically, it could have been Serenity, but we don't know for sure. Then there was this investigation.
The Department of Social Services reviewed the home's response after Serenity walked away.
The Black Hills Children's Home and staff failed to execute the plan to ensure the safety of the child. Someone should have called 911 as soon as staff members lost sight of Serenity. The facility did not provide the level of supervision required to ensure the safety of the child. Before staff called 911, they searched the property and activated a call chain. The report also says complacency among staff was an issue after previous attempted runaways. The facility's lost child policy was written 20 years ago.
It was below freezing, okay? And this 9-year-old girl ran away without a jacket on. She ran out the gym into the snow. Why, oh why, would you not run there? Why didn't people go look there? That is the urgency. It reminds me so much of this Orrin and Orson West case where, you know, the kid supposedly goes out into the danger and they decide to run back into the house. I don't know, is this a common thing? Is this an odd thing? I don't know. My only experience, as I've mentioned in previous video, is that, you know, my dog went missing and I knew that my dog had gone out the gate. I saw the gate was open and the dog wasn't responding. And so my first instinct was to run out and get them in, not to go here where they could potentially go farther and farther away and lose precious moments. Again, this is just, you know, my opinion, who knows? Over the 2 years from when Serenity went missing to when the search was suspended, there were a lot of different interviews, there were a lot of people involved, a lot of searches, there were so many sightings involving, you know, 4 countries. There were theories of a motorcycle gang.
Do you have a specific theory that you can share with people?
I have a theory. I've been told by multiple people that there's a gang that, MC gang, a motorcycle gang that, does have something to do with it. Multiple people that are different circles of people, like none of them are friends, but they all have the same stories.
Okay. Do you believe that it's possible that somebody has an issue with you and that you did something that they would want to get back at you for?
That's my biggest fear. Like, I have to live with that every day, like wondering, like, did I make somebody mad? Did I do something wrong? And that's why, like, can I trade places if they have her?
I would love, you know, that, you know, somebody took her in, a good person took her in, you know, some old grandma somewhere that doesn't have social media or TV or anything, and oh, here's a 10-year-old little girl that just needs help, you know, I'm just gonna comfort her and feed her, and that's, you gotta hold up, you gotta have hope.
Let's start with the first theory, which is that, you know, she ran away, she succumbed to the elements, and they just haven't been able to find her. And then there's something I want to mention too, and that is her obsession with the movie Frozen.
So I noticed that you brought some of her favorite toys.
Yes.
So what is this that we have here?
So this is her Frozen jewelry box.
Okay.
And
she loved Frozen, loved the movie.
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely. And she had a few little friends that would always come over, some neighbor friends. Okay. And we all just loved Frozen, and we'd sing the song. And one of her school programs, they actually sang one of the Frozen songs.
Oh, that's great.
And she would throw her hands up in the air and sing. And yeah, so this is a music box. These are some Barbies that she had, and of course they're wearing Frozen attire.
Oh, yes, okay.
And a lot of times these Barbies would have no clothes on, or they would change clothes frequently.
Yes.
But yes, these are some of her Barbies that she used to have.
Now, I'm not ashamed to say this, but I was obsessed with it too, and I loved the song too. Remember, the cold never bothered me anyway? If you're familiar with the plot of Frozen 1, you know, there's a point where Elsa runs away into the woods, the freezing elements. So I could very well see a girl who's obsessed with this movie, who identifies with this character, being in a similar situation, feeling like, you know, all the things that she's going through, and being like, you know, I'm just gonna run. The cold never bothered me anyway, right? So tragic, so childish, and then it ends up in this horrific thing. I mean, I ran away from home with a bar of chocolate thinking I was gonna survive when I was a kid. and then they found me in the garden. Let's talk about the other theory, which is that something sinister happened. It could be somebody picked her up and is holding her captive, or maybe she was somehow kidnapped. Maybe the school wasn't telling the truth about what happened. The people who are talking about it the most are the parents.
You had a feeling that maybe she might have been looking for you. So tell me why you have that feeling that that's what she was doing.
I had that feeling. It was brought to our attention one of the first meetings we had with investigations. You know, we were told, you know, he said, well, I'm a parent and I would want you to know this, you know, that Serenity had asked for me and had been talking about me. So I would like to think that she was trying to reach out and come home.
Okay. So, where is Serenity?
I would like to believe that since they haven't found any trace of her, so to speak, I would like to believe that somebody was around that corner and picked her up and has her, and
that she's alive.
Yes. And she's trying to get home.
Yes.
She's definitely not a little girl that would just go along with anything. She's gonna fight her way away from whoever has her, if somebody has her.
Okay. So what is your worst fear about what's happened to her? When you're in bed at night and you start to really get that feeling of fear, what is running through your mind?
My fear is that she was up there. You know, she obviously was not happy. She was running away for a reason. My fear is that, you know, she hid someplace to get warm since she didn't have a coat on, and we just haven't been able to find that place yet.
Okay. Have you ever said to yourself, I think I would, I'm going to put on my hiking boots and I'm just going to go walk around and look?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, we're still saying that.
You're still
every
saying
day.
that, but you have not done that.
We have a few different
You have,
times.
okay.
Yes, and we
Okay.
have plans to keep going up
Kind
there.
of doing some of your own searches
Right.
and things like that.
Absolutely.
Okay. What would you like the public to know about Serenity?
Serenity was, for the most part, she was a happy little girl. She touched a lot of hearts. Everybody she would meet was affected by her. Very bubbly. Her voice. She loved to sing, and she wasn't very good at it, but she loved to sing. And I would do anything to hear her sing right now.
Yes. Yeah.
Parents. And I have a theory as to why I think they're believing or holding out hope, and it's for that reason. Hope, right? You don't want to believe that your daughter froze to death in the cold alone when she was already running away and not happy. It's just so tragic. And then there's this other theory about somebody in Washington, like that Serenity's in Washington with her uncle. That's also coming from the bio mom.
There's been sightings in Washington State. There's been people claiming in Washington State that they have her and things. You've been incarcerated.
Yes.
But have you heard anything about Washington State?
I didn't up until yesterday. I got a message from a girl that I was incarcerated with, and she just said, look, it sounds really weird, but I was in jail a few days ago with another girl, and Serenity's story came over the news, and she said, oh, she's safe. She's in Washington with her uncle.
And does she have an uncle in Washington?
Not that I'm aware of, not from Devin or I's family.
So these leads and theories have been given to police, and police said they followed up on them and nothing came of it. So do with that what you will. And then the final theory is something to do with the school, right? Is the school really telling the truth?
The children's home was criticized for waiting an hour and 41 minutes to report Serenity's disappearance.
I'm not absolutely certain it would have made a real difference in locating Serenity.
The way I see it, again, just my opinion, is I think that they didn't want it to believe that they had done something really bad, in the sense of like them having to call 911 means that they let it get out of control. They were not able to supervise her the way they should and do their job, and now she's missing. They want to avoid that. Couple that with the fact that this has happened before and they found the kids before, I could kind of see why they would hold off on calling the cops, because they in their heart of hearts, they just want to find her and be over with. Nobody has to know. They don't look bad. She's safe. End of story. So I think they may have spent a little too long trying to make that the case, when in fact she had run out into the snow and they should have called 911 immediately or run after her. And if they couldn't run after her because they were supervising the kids, call 911. You know, I'm curious to know what you guys think about the school, because if anything is off here, I'm more inclined to think maybe the school. I'd love to know what you guys think. As I said, I think it's just really tragic. And you know, when there's uncertainty, there are theories, right? That's why I like to do what I do, is because you need to flesh out things and look at what's likely, because sometimes there's no clear answer, and truth is usually stranger than fiction. So with all that being said, the investigation is still open. So hopefully if people know anything or hear anything, contact the authorities and let them know. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.